We are bringing back Rising Qs. All week, we have invited you to ask us anything. So here we go. This is a fun thing that Ryan and I and Kim used to do. We used to do some wacky things. There were a lot of segments where we just read trivia questions about American politics from a giant trivia book that a viewer had sent Ryan back in the day.
How did that go?
Well, it was fun answering trivia questions. I don't know if anybody watched those segments. We stopped doing them, but that's how Ryan conducted this show for a while. All right, question number one. What's your biggest disagreement and biggest surprise agreement? I don't know, can we pick just one? I mean, we had a pretty bruising argument this week about the Israel-Palestine conflict, but I don't even know that we have a particularly big, within the spectrum of like American public opinion on this issue, we're not nearly as far apart.
I think our biggest disagreement is that I think that not only should the government work on behalf of the most poor, working class, and vulnerable people in the country, that's the sole purpose of government, and that government should be empowered through democratic means to address the needs of the people who put them in office. And I think just fundamentally as a libertarian, you think that government shouldn't exist.
Okay, let's not straw man my position. I think government should be extremely limited. I think government, is not responsible for guaranteeing a lot of the services that you think it is.
Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness.
A limited its purpose is for security and defense of the nation.
Yes.
Police services.
Yes. So some of our biggest, I think, disagreements happen around should the FDA or any other government agency check the food before it hits your plate, or should the markets decide whether or not you get salmonella today?
Okay. Question number two.
Wait, Robby. The second part of that question was our biggest area of agreement.
I don't know. What's our biggest area of agreement? I mean, on foreign policy in general, we are, despite some very bruising arguments this week, I mean, we are generally pretty aligned, as are libertarians and the left. We agree a lot on the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Yeah. If our show had been taking place in the midst of the Iraq War, we would have agreed. Honestly, again, we do mostly agree on like Israel-Palestine.
Yeah, I also think a lot of the police issues of police overreach and asset forfeiture, the way the government through the arm of police steals money from people. I think they're sympathetic to some of the wage theft stuff, and that has been a pleasant surprise.
I think our best conversations, honestly, are on speech issues and speech relating to social media, and that where we have, and just kind of tech policies, companies, platforms in general.
Yeah, I think that's right.
You and I both have, I think, a lot of actual technical knowledge about the law and the discourse in the media environment.
I thought you were going to say about technology. I'm like, no, Robby, I'm just very online.
But we have good conversations because we do have disagreements, but we also have some agreements. It's not, they tend not to be really, at each other's throats.
And I would say that you are very principled in a way that I think not all conservatives are. You're not Republican, obviously, but on those speech issues, and I do think that is perhaps not surprising, but very much appreciated.
Oh, thank you. All right. Question number two, have the arguments presented by your co-host changed your position on any issue? I mean, we're probably just going to both say no, but I would say, to be charitable, I'm probably more skeptical of drug companies and the pharmaceutical industry than I was before I started hosting Rising. That has to do with COVID. Arguments you've brought up, with events in the real world, COVID. Yeah. But also arguments you've made, arguments Ryan made, arguments Kim made. I see much more clearly the effects of lobbying in those industries. I don't know that I've necessarily changed my view on a policy, but I'm not gonna. I wouldn't accept what specific industries or specific firms say about their products just at face value to the degree I might have before.
I think the way that I try to make certain arguments has changed as a result of talking to you. Because I frankly do think that there is a good faith frustration with the government because there is corporate capture. There is corruption. People's criticisms of the government often aren't wrong. We just have a difference of opinion about what to do about that. Either get rid of the government as a whole, which I think lets all the groups that are capturing...
Not entirely, but...
Well, sure, but largely, which I think lets all the groups that are trying to capture the government just have free reign, or my alternative, try to get at the root of that corruption. And so I think I am much more willing now to acknowledge that when people are making complaints about the government, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, I'm not going to fight you on that. Like, the government is corrupt. You're completely right. You've addressed the right problem. You've assessed the right problem. Now let's talk about solutions. So I appreciate that.
We actually have, no other show really does that. Debate format shows are actually mostly just about agreement between the people. And I don't think anyone could watch us and accuse us of agreeing too much. I mean, we agree when we actually agree, but we say what we think, and often we disagree, and that's what comes out.
Yeah, it's
people
true.
congratulate themselves for having debates or principled arguments, but you watch and they're never actually arguing. They're not actually disagreeing.
I think that is largely true. And I do think, look, we have very tough conversations here and manage to continue to go on and have a very, I think, pleasant and
we do, yes.
Great relationship.
We do.
And I value that. I also value, I think maybe it's because we're both Leos or something, that we both have the tendency to just kind of let stuff go. It can be very heated and passionate, and then we let it go. And
we do. I know people wonder
about
about
that. A pool party
that.
and a drink and all these kinds of things. So
is it happy hour yet?
Maybe I need a drink after today's recording, but I do appreciate that there's I think a respect for humanity that happens here that comes across hopefully to you in the audience. I think this is maybe the last one.
Yes, and this is a question for Briahna. No, it's a question for me. Somebody wants to know Robby's review of Baldur's Gate 3 as well as what class he plays. So I am going to disappoint some fans. Of course, I'm aware of Baldur's Gate 3. I have not played it yet. While I'm a big, gaming nerd person, I don't have a lot of time to play everything that comes out. I'm excited for the game. One of my good friends, my buddies, is playing it 6 floors above me. He lives in my apartment. He's lives in my building. Invites me to his apartment to play. I haven't made it there yet. I loved Baldur's Gate. I played Dark Alliance and Dark Alliance 2 years ago, and I think I enjoy. I think I played as the cleric when I played. I'm not sure what the available classes are. And in my Dungeons and Dragons, which people are curious about, I'm the dungeon master, so I don't have a player. I'm the kind of the narrator of the story. But if I did play, when I play, the character I played at is an artificer. So that's someone who infuses objects with magical properties.
Cool. And one last thing that I really appreciate about Robby, and that is a pleasant surprise, is that no matter how much I like Star Trek or have any other nerdy tendencies, no matter how much of a STEM major I might have been or anything like that, I will never be the biggest nerd at this table.
No way. No way, no how. Have a good weekend. See you soon.
Bye-bye.